The Devil's Advocate, a short polemic on how to be seriously good in court. The book is called The Devil's Advocate because it may make you see advocacy from a new perspective. Your assumptions will be challenged. Chapter I. This book will take you 3 hours to read. I hope you may never forget it. I hope you will come back to it time and again. Keep it for reference. It's been published in a small size so you can carry it about. It is full of good ideas which in the early years of your practice, you can dip into while thinking of what to do in a case. With reading it, your advocacy will probably improve immediately. It's almost guaranteed. This is not a reasoned academic text. It is a polemic. It is about being good in court. No messing, no guff, no clever arguments, no tedious endless proofs and justifications. It tells it as it is. It's about how to do the job really well. Chapter 1, and it applies to all advocates of up to 5 years experience. It is designed to be read easily by anyone interested in becoming an effective advocate, whether presently at school, in university, at law school, or in the early stages of doing the job at the bar or as a solicitor. It is written with crime in mind, but many of the rules apply to the courtroom in civil practice too. The book will make sense wherever the justice system is adversarial. Much of what is in this book has been or is being taught in Scotland, Ireland, India, South Africa, Hong Kong, Australia, Kenya, New Zealand, Canada, and the USA. Many of the techniques are being embraced by the formerly communist countries of Eastern Europe. The rules of advocacy are traveling widely. I've written it in pretty much my style of speech from when I teach advocacy students. The book should read like I am talking to you, with color and enthusiasm. It shouldn't feel like you are reading. I am hoping the style will be effective in communicating what may otherwise be a series of rather dull rules. My apologies if I appear to over-egg it in places, and drive you a bit nuts. But at least, you'll probably remember what's been said. Where I refer to an advocate or judge, I will use the expression, he, as being, I hope, gender neutral. You won't agree with everything you read. Good. At least you're thinking about advocacy. Each page will contain 1 or 2 thoughts, no more. Some pages will therefore be short. Some of them very short. Like this one. Try not to fly through the book. Instead, think about each page as you read it. Lodge each thought in your mind. Don't skim. Think. As for myself, I don't pretend I can do advocacy right every time in court, but I think I've come across what works. And I know I will always be learning. Chapter 2, Learning Advocacy. Advocacy is a skill. The skill of persuasion. Like any skill, advocacy can be learnt. Up to a point. No one can be taught to be a brilliant advocate, just as no one can be taught to be a brilliant pianist. Brilliance requires talent. Whether any of us have talent is in the gift of the gods. However, we can be taught competence in advocacy. Competence is not making errors. We can be taught how not to make errors. Simply that. No more complicated than that. No errors. Just as most people can be taught to play the piano, so too can they be taught advocacy. An error-free performance on the piano, like perhaps a youngster playing Beethoven's fairly simple Für Elise, is creditable. will raise murmurs of approval, and generally cannot be hugely criticized. The youngster may not be destined to be a brilliant pianist, but an error-free für-Elise is something most youngsters can be taught to play, even if a little woodenly. In the same way, we can learn an error-free performance in court, but unlike the pianist, an error-free performance in court is something more. It is highly unusual. Advocacy without errors is no small achievement. As with any skill, practice is what is necessary. Reading books like this will be perfectly useless in the absence of practice. We learn advocacy by doing. So practice. To practice. 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 The ideas in this book are for trying out. If something does not work for you, form that opinion after you have tried it and not before. There will be suggestions you disagree with, but what we must avoid is an armchair debate. Try things out, then debate them, not beforehand. Advocacy should involve experimenting regularly, trying to improve existing skills, trying to create new skills. Don't sit around. Get up and do. Practice in front of the mirror. Practice in front of friends. Practice to and from work in the quiet of your mind on the train. Always be looking for ways of phrasing questions, turning phrases, encapsulating arguments, controlling witnesses, and more, and so on. Think new ideas and in time have the courage to try them. It is astonishing how few students and advocates have ever read an advocacy book.